name's Mackenzie Richter, and I'm a professional ballerina. And over the past year, I also somehow became a photographer, a film photographer. Learned a ton of stuff over the past year, and I learned a lot about photography and a lot about myself and how I feel about myself and how I want to express myself, and my need to keep creating things even when it seems impossible. And I've been dancing since I was 7 years old, and I'm 22 now. So, yeah, I over the past few years, I have really had a lot of thoughts about my body and how I see myself and how other people perceive me. I think obviously stepping in front of a mirror every day for your job is taxing enough. And obviously ballerinas have a lot of people critiquing them all the time. So I think it's good to think about how criticism can affect someone's perception of themselves, and talk about what's okay. You know, I've had to kind of figure out what I want to see on my, on my feed. There are so many famous Instagram models that edit their bodies, over-edit their bodies and the shapes of their bodies. And, if you want to do that, like, more power to you, honestly. But for me to see that, there's this standard of what people think their body should look like, what they think is ideal, it can be really hurtful. I've always been on the skinnier side, and I've always had people say to me, like, oh, you're so skinny, you don't have to worry about anything. And to me, it's kind of like, well, just because you think I'm skinny doesn't mean I'm necessarily happy with how I look. Like, maybe I'm trying to gain weight, and, saying I look skinny is like, for real, still? So I guess I started doing self-portraits during the pandemic, and that was an interesting dynamic of me seeing my body unedited, just what I was able to capture. And, sometimes I would get an angle where I was like, ooh, I don't like that. But, I had to try to think like, oh, well, that's what I look like from that angle. That's my body, and it's not going to change. And I don't want to change what I look like, I want to have love for myself and be fully aware of what I look like, and not be self-conscious and not be apologetic for that. I've had, and I know it's a lot of times meant to be a compliment, but people will say like, wow, your body just looks so perfect in this picture, or you look so perfect. And I think we have to be careful with how we use the word perfect, because to diminish from what someone else looks like because you think someone else looks perfect, or that's your ideal thought, like, I think that can be hurtful and confusing. And just because you think someone their appearance is perfect. That doesn't take away from the fact that person is able to feel things and express themselves and feel upset and angry and all these different things. So I guess the idea that just because you think someone has a perfect body means that they should be happy with their body is just not realistic all the time. I think as a dancer, you have to be realistic, but at the same time, you have to be kind to yourself. And for me personally, I have to take everything with a grain of salt. All kinds of criticism, people saying, oh, you should do this, you should eat more, you should look like this, like, it's just someone's opinion. And I think if you're happy doing what you're doing, you're expressing yourself, you're being yourself, like, you just have to tune out the rest. That's what I found for me personally. Like, I found myself, filtering who I followed on social media because of how their content made me feel, or what they were saying, like, if it resonated with me. Like, those are the people I'm drawn to. People who are, unapologetically themselves, no matter what, no matter what the standards are for beauty or whatever. Like, they're just doing what they want to do, what makes them happy. And I want to do the same thing. I want to inspire people to do the same thing, to be themselves. I want to inspire people to be themselves by being myself, by being my authentic self, and showing my emotion and my art that I make, and not just always being like, oh yeah, I'm really happy, everything's perfect over here. Like, leaning into your emotions and how you feel about yourself and your body and everything is part of who you are.